Hello and welcome to another episode of If My Feet Could Talk podcast. I'm your host, Owen, or Wine, depending on which part of Wales you're from, depends how you pronounce it, but it doesn't matter. I'm also known as the Ultra Running Matt, though. So I've been quite excited about getting this podcast done because I've been trying to arrange a suitable occasion with the guest. Now, since pretty much when I first started recording with guests, due to various reasons, we just haven't managed to do it until now. So I'm quite excited to do this and been looking forward to it for a while. But before I go on, a little catch up with me. Day 1061 of running every day. The run streak's still going strong. I'm still getting over the lurgy I had now for over a month. I'm starting to get to the tail end of it, but lurgies, colds and stuff always hang around longer with me because of my low white cell count. That's just life with low white cells. But the training's going and I'm busy with family and work. I'm now on leave though, so I'm spending some quality time with the family. Now, let's move on to the guest. I know you're waiting as much as I am. As I said, I've been trying to jack this up for since the beginning, and now I have the opportunity to. So, listeners and viewers, I give you Mr. Hugh Williams. Here we go. We are recording. Good morning, Hugh. How the devil are you?
Oh, I'm all right. It's Tuesday.
Yes. You're killing it. Welcome to the podcast. But obviously, you're fine. How's the family?
Yeah, all good. I say all good. It's half term. My son Guion, he's working on the farm. He's 15, loving it. My in-laws have a dairy farm, so he works there. He does go to school. I think he's 15. And Caddy, my daughter, she just had a sleepover on Sunday night, and she's out there as well. It's lambing season at the moment, so they've just got the most idyllic social time for them. So all good. Wife working, Caris working very hard. So everybody and everything is all good. Dad, legend he is, 86, and one of the many inspirations in my life. He's just going about his business, lives on his own. And my mum passed away about 12 years ago, and he's just one of the most independent and future thinking people I know. So yeah, thanks. Everybody's good.
Well, that's good to hear. Obviously, it's nice to hear you got your children into child labour early. That's what I like to see. You know, getting them working. My boy's just not quite there yet for that.
Why not? How old is he?
He's 11, so he's getting on. He's borderline due to get out there. You know,
market stall paper round.
You don't see many paper rounds nowadays, though, do you? You don't see many paper boys going around delivering papers anymore. Everything's online, isn't it?
There's a market for him.
I reckon
there's a market selling old papers to people. Yeah. Yesterday's papers from Owen Jr. Get him out.
So, for those that don't know who you are, which I'll be surprised about, can you briefly let people know who you are, what you do, where you're from, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, my name's Hugh Williams, 49. Wowzers. And I don't think I have a what am I? I was a career tourist for most of my life, walking, running, jumping out of jobs, or using them to work to go and get another job. I remember I'm currently I organise ultra marathons and races on the Llŷn Peninsula here in sunny North Wales. It is a gem of a place. I'm very lucky to have been brought up here, although I moved away for several years and then came back. That's what I do. So I organise ultra marathons. I used to run, retired now. We'll probably go on to that later. But yeah, that's what I do with some of my time.
Cool. Obviously, those that couldn't tell from that, you're obviously a Welshman with the accent and everything. Unlike me, I've lost my accent many years ago. But let's have a little talk about the Six Nations. It was pretty disappointing for us, wasn't it?
Well, I'm lucky. I'm half Irish as well,
Oh.
and whenever the ship's sinking, I jump onto that nationality, and vice versa. Vice versa. Yeah, Six Nations. There were some really good games.
Oh, the actual
final game, Italy, brilliant. But Wales, Sean Edwards leaving was a huge loss. And I just think I don't know, I think the whole foundation of Welsh rugby needs to be shaken up and changed completely.
there's no surprise that Sean Edwards left us when we were doing really well, went to France, who were doing really badly, and now they're Grand Slam winners.
Yeah. And it's that rugby league mentality. I used to be, when I was in college in Liverpool, I used to go and watch, back in the late 80s, early 90s, I used to watch Sean Edwards, Afire, and those guys in Wigan. And I think you have to be a player, and a very good player, to be able to manage teams and to develop teams, or have historically been a manager for a certain amount of time. And I just feel that there's time for disruption within Welsh rugby. We've gone back to watching a game, say if you watch it in a pub or if you watch it at home with friends, that you're talking to your friends more rather than watching the game, which then it used to be a catch up after the game, talking to your friends. And yeah, we've got some brilliant players. We've got World Cup next year. But Ireland, brilliant. And Italy, that is he the scrum half or winger?
He was wasn't he the fullback? I think he was the fullback that scored the try and stuff.
Yeah, incredible. And hats off to England. Keeping it on. Yeah. But yeah, that they've got such strength and depth. And I think
with England, they need to get rid. I know we're going well into rugby, but they need to get rid of Eddie Jones. They need to get rid of it.
I think Wales is, on a school level rugby, it's very much South Wales orientated for picking the team. West and North Wales, there's the teenagers that are going through RGC up here, but then there's hardly any North Walians getting picked for South Walian. That it'd be the same if it was all North Wales. I'd be shouting the corner for South Wales. We had George North, who played junior, for a few games up in Pwllheli. But for a North Walian going down to South Wales, there hasn't been one significantly for years. And there is, talent up here as well. But, the World Cup, everything could completely change again. France are notoriously unreliable with their consistency. But I think, as you say, you got Sean Edwards, who is
pretty much the best defence coach in the world, isn't he?
Yeah. And that rubs off into attacking play as well, because you've got the confidence of the defence. So you're just working that weak link, or a link that doesn't need as much training on. You can train on other things. same with running, sort of thing. So yeah, but I love watching the any rugby training videos with Sean Edwards or British Lions videos, because that kind of pre-match dialogue is something that you can repeat and put it into your head when you're doing endurance events or pre-running events, which is so important. What you're training your head on at the same time as what you're training your body.
And that brings us well back into the actual proper conversation now. As we said, you're a proud Welshman. Growing up as a child, were you a sporty child? Or was that a silly question, being a Welshman?
No, I wasn't. Why wasn't I a sporty child? Well, I didn't go to school all that often. I found it much more fun to dodge school, go to my mate's house, smoke cigarettes and play on his decks, or stand on a upturned shopping trolley and throw rocks into the sea. Just school, just, I don't know, didn't really have it for me. I got into running a little bit when I was about 12, 13. My next door neighbour, I used to work down the fairground, so I'm used to, people who were going, I haven't got the time for going training and going to work. From an early age, I was going for a run with my next door neighbour and then doing a shift from, say, like 9 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night when I was a youngster, so it becomes the norm. But yeah, I used to go running with my next door neighbour. I used to knock on his door at, say, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then he'd come downstairs. He'd have 2 cigarettes and a cup of coffee. We're talking 12, 13, that must have been 80, 84. And we'd go for a 3-mile run, and I'd stay with him for about an hour, and then for about a mile, and then off I'd go. And then that's it. Teenage years, dropped it, everything. Didn't really get back into running much until I was abroad, where I'd go on my bike or go for a little bit of a run. Nothing, no races, no anything. And then, didn't start it seriously until about 2014. Other sports in school and that, I'd take myself swimming, weightlifting and stuff. I really enjoyed. I did weights for about from the ages of about 12 till I was about 30, sort of thing. So yeah, until I got into the running, I was into my weightlifting, so I really enjoyed that.
So do you have any family members that are really sporty that potentially inspired you later, that may have been in your genes for you to do what you've done later on in life? Is there anyone?
No. Absolutely no one. When you asked before the podcast, is anybody sporting or anybody like that, and I was like, nope. I'd say I'm very independent, although I like being in the middle of a crowd and stuff. I'm more than happy than being independently and having to bring the motivation from within and take ownership of what I'm about to do, rather than being spoon-fed or, how do I do this, how do that. It's just like, first into the pub when I was underage to get served, or first to, I wouldn't, if people that know me close to home, if I was in a job and I wasn't happy with it, I tend not to find another job. I'd just leave it. And these are jobs that would be like in a bank, in a recruitment company. These aren't just Saturday jobs. These are like sitting at a desk and going, hang on a minute. Nope, not for me, I'm off. So a good friend of mine, Nick Marriott, said to me in the Ring of Fire, about 6 years ago, he goes, Hugh, if you're going to make a decision, even if it's the wrong one, just make it. And that's what it is. So yeah, in terms of members of family or so on, people I'd look up to as a child, Daley Thompson, Bruce Lee, my next door neighbour, also my dad. But yeah, TV, massive 80s kid into TV, like the Fall Guy and all that kind of thing. But yeah, in terms of physical heroes around me, no, there wasn't, funnily enough. But 84, or was it 82, whenever the Olympics was on, that warm summer, we had Daley Thompson.
Was that Los Angeles?
Yeah, Los Angeles. that was got me into athletics and sport and everything. I just thought, wow, I remember it very, very vividly, and was lucky enough to go to Los Angeles on tour with a rugby club in '92, and we actually went into that stadium, and it was like, wow, I'm a proper sport geek, not so much retired. I won't watch so many local events whenever I'm retired now, because you just want to take part yourself. But big sporting, it doesn't even matter what the sport is. I'm not even into golf, but seeing Tiger Woods in the Masters, and this is a guy who's had a car crash, and you can see he's carrying an injury, so over the odds and stuff has always been feeding myself in. So yeah, self motivated, self taught. No idea where I got that seed of thought, but I'm glad it popped into my head at an early age. Sort of thing, because I've always studied self help. Because a lot of people think that self help is just for whenever things are going wrong, but the likes of Jim Rohn, Ed Scholf, and all these people who many motivational speakers are following now. I like going back in time and reading the books from the 19th century and so on, and because I think as soon as you look after yourself mentally on a regular basis, whenever you do come across a storm or a tide that isn't it's a bit knotted, then you've got the ability, oh, hang on, I just need to settle, breathe, percolate, and move on, sort of thing. So yeah.
That's a really good point. To be fair, I mean, you're right. A lot of people do only sort of help themselves when things are going wrong, more than continue it when things are going right.
Yeah.
So, no, it's a good point. So when did you start finding the love for running properly?
I think it was in the early 90s when I was a professional shoplifter, and because I couldn't run very far away from the the shop security, I thought I need to train with a weight pack that I can put. No. My friend, myself, me and Raymond Cassidy were sat in a pub, as all things did, and we were like, look, we need to set up a running club in Preseli. This was back in 2014. I hadn't even run a half marathon, whatever, but we just wanted somewhere, because there's one in Eryri, you've got Hebog, you've also got lots of other ones up in North and West Wales. So we started the running club, and
so you just sat there in the pub and went, we need a running club. Was that it?
Yeah.
You had not like you had already been running for a few years and went, we could do with a club. You just sat there in the pub and went, we need a running club because everyone else has got one.
Yeah, that's very much how I work with a lot of people. Whenever they've got an idea, they like to put loads of work in front of themselves to potentially take them away from doing what they are, rather than take a mark it in the sand and then work your way backwards and then go from there. So yeah, so we got the community chest, that's Monopoly. We got like the local funding for it. We started a Couch to 5K group, and had loads of people. As you know yourself, people that go on the Couch to 5K, a lot of them go back to the couch, and a very small percentage of them carry on. I did on the back of that. Then I did a half marathon in Conway. I was beaten by a Dalek.
Was that your first race?
First race, half marathon, Conway. I couldn't believe how far away it was. I remember looking at the start line. If you haven't done distance before, I was looking at the Great Orme and I was thinking, no way, we're going to run all the way over there on the same day. So yeah, I got there, had a nosebleed on the way up, altitude, whatever. And I was racing again. I say racing, I was fast walking, slowing, coughing, running a bit, against a Dalek called Kevin from Preston, who beat me on the final straight. I think I was sick in my hands or something. But yeah, and then once I got that, I thought, right, I'm never doing that again. And then, as you say, within minutes, you're like sniffing. You go, oh, yeah. So yeah. And then Raymond Cassidy said, "Oh, look, there's the Snowdonia Marathon. Fancy doing it?" Yeah. I'm lucky. I've got that endorphin feeling. I did have all the time. So I'm like a dog. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Too excited to understand that there's potential. So that's when I did my first marathon, and then that was it. I didn't look back. Went onto the trails then, and then got into doing my own like kind of adventure running for like weeks and so on for charity, and then various ultra marathons.
So going back to your first race, you mentioned you were puking up and all that. So how was it exactly for you? How was it when you were doing it, and how was it when you actually finished and now reflect back on it?
Oh, it's, when you look back with fondness at your first race, because you've got your phone, you've got your phone on you there, you've got you're all dished out and carry more heavy trainers, taking on loads of gels, no idea what you're doing. Felt very nervous all the way round, just because I think my body just didn't know what was going on. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to be able to get a lift back from the Great Orme if I wasn't able to return. After the race, I think I was just in shock. Your body's still like looking around, hang on, you're gonna take me for another run and stuff. But I was like, there wasn't any joy or anything. There was just like, let's get away from Conway. Let's just leave now, just in case they ask me to do it again, or just, yeah, can we just leave? You want to leave the scene of the crime, which was, but then on reflection, they're brilliant. You realize how naive you are with absolutely everything, but you have to get the first one out of the way with many challenges to be able to give you strength to do the next and the next and the next and the next.
I mean, you pretty much described my first proper race, my couch to marathon, my London Marathon, all the way through that, all the gear, no idea. Being you got overtaken by a Dalek. I got overtaken by a dying Felix the cat. When I overtook him on the embankment, he was collapsed, being seen to by the ambulance. Come the finish line, he was overtaking me, doing all the thumbs up, jumping in the air as he passed me, and there's me dying.
Did you throw him in the hedge? Did you?
Oh, I wanted to. Yeah, I wanted to.
Charity.
So you say you went onto marathons and trail marathons in your own adventure. Let's talk about one of the events that you rarely talk about to people. Yeah. I know you like to keep it on the lowdown. The Marathon des Sables. So for those who don't know about the MDS, can you explain what the MDS is?
Yeah, it's a walking holiday in the Sahara Desert. Now, all these people that say it's the toughest foot race on earth, I'm not being funny, the big shop in Asda can be the toughest foot race on earth if you go there with that mentality. If you're going somewhere thinking, oh, this is going to be, can we swear on this?
No, yeah, you can swear,
yeah.
do whatever the fuck you want.
If you go somewhere and say, oh, hate doing the big shop in Asda, this is going to be shit, it's going to be busy, it's going to be rubbish. Or if you go into the Marathon des Sables thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be in the desert, it's going to be so hot, I'm so scared. You do have to have selflessness. But, if you, rather than going in there, I'm going to be with a group of my mates, we're going to be able to see all the Sahara Desert, see camels, go up mountains. I'm not going there to win it. I'm going there to experience it and to see what pops out of my mind after that's done. So it's a walking, like I remember saying, whenever I've been training like I've never trained before in my life for it. A good 8 months, went off the drink, dropped contact with all my social friends. So all my friends that I'd normally go out for wine or go and have a session with or have a big barbecue, whatever, I just stopped being friends with them. I said, look, guys, I'm going to just take a step back for about 8 months and I'll see you later, because I can't go and do this again. You know what I mean? I've put in too much effort into it. This is what the hard work I'm going to do now, so I can, enjoy it whenever I get there. So yeah, I got in touch with Steve Dietrich, who heads up the British side of the organisation, and I asked him if he could send my email to all the competitors from Wales that signed up, and there was like, how many of us were in a tent? 7, 6, 7. And then second day, a Royal Marine, big lad, who, yourselves, yeah. He'd done it 2 years previously, and his heart rate was off the scale, and he just said, right, lads, I'm going home, see you later, ta-ra. We're all newbies on the second night, and we were like, bloody hell, he's gone. Oh my God, what are we going to do? And then I was going, we're going to steal his food. So we all had our food across. So yeah, the first day is, a short day. It's about 15 to 18 miles. You're all in your bivouac. You carry your own kit. All you're given is water. You've got to feed yourself, blah, blah, blah. But the first day is a stark realization of, holy shit, we're in the desert. Okay, shit, I'm going to pace myself. Hang on, I'm just going to stay alive. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay alive. And then if I'm still alive, I'm going to pace myself. And it's just, you start, running a bit in the breeze, running down the dunes and stuff. And then, that's just to get you used to the environment. The 2 days after, you go over this huge Jabal, which is like a big sand dune. I was running up towards, it's like a sand mountain. I was running towards it, and I thought, there's got to be like a tunnel or something for the competitors to run through. But it's the same height as Tryfan, and there's fixed rope. And I thought, oh, this is just all for show. What's going on? And then whenever you're hanging on the side of it, you're thinking, oh my God. So you go over that and across one day, and then over that and back on the other day. And then on the 4th day, is the long stage, which is, it was 90K. And that was the furthest I've ever done. I'd only done 60 miles before that. And we were coming into the first aid station, and my nose started bleeding. And I was like, oh, right, okay, I'm just going to cover my nose, because if they see anything like that, they can just pull you out of the race. There were some lads that hadn't tried salt tablets before, and they threw up, day one, and you could see them getting pulled out of the race. So I was like, I can't. And he goes, can you come over here to the med center? He goes, your nose is bleeding. We're just gonna, so they put like a Tampax up your nose to try and get it to clot. And I said, okay, I'm good to go. He goes, no, you're gonna have to stay a bit longer. I thought, shit, he's gonna pull me on this. I said, I don't mind even walking. He noticed the watch that I had on. It was like a Mickey Mouse watch. He goes, I work as a medic in Paris Disneyland. I went, oh, great. Who's your favourite cartoon character? He goes, I like, and just completely trying to distract him from the fact that he's got somebody bleeding. He goes, look, Hugh, I will let you carry on, but you can't run. You have to walk, because we need the blood. We need it to dry up. So for the good part of 65 miles, I was walking in the heat, and my head really went down. It was like, shit, this is going to take ages. I looked to be doing it in around 25 hours. I thought this is going to take, I'm going to be pushing probably the cut off. And then just as that was all happening, once again, Felix the cat, or the Dalek, this guy dressed up as a cow. I don't know if you remember
Was he a Japanese guy?
Yeah. Now, yeah. I don't know if you remember the Clive Anderson show, where they have these extreme Japanese shows where they have to like jump through glass or see how long they can have their testicles electrocuted for. One of the prizes for that is to go in fancy dress across the Marathon de Sables. So I was with him for about 8 hours, just both trying to understand each other. And then before you know it, it's night time. And then I put on a jog then at night because I thought like it's cooler. That's clotted. And I got in something like 20, 26 hours sort of thing. But yeah, that's incredible. And then, you've just got the marathon stage where I just belted it. And then you've got the charity stage, and that's it. For anybody that's thinking about doing the Marathon des Sables, do it. A lot of people say, oh, it's too expensive. There's charity options where you can help various like Scope or MS or something, or just get into debt and do it. I think if you're price conscious for something, then that's just an excuse for not actually doing it. Because the amount of effort that goes into setting this up is brilliant. But there's so many multi-day races now all over the globe. Like you've got the Gran Canaria, you've got the Grand Canyon. There's also Race Romania. So yeah, just what my plan was in 2019 was to try and turn into the Judith Chalmers of the trail and ultra running world, and show how easy it is to go on holiday with your friends or your family, go and do a race whilst you're out there and enjoy the country. I think for the amount of runners we've got in the UK that don't run abroad, now is such a great opportunity, because it just opens up so much and it enriches your experience as a runner. I was lucky enough to do a night race in Portugal. That was the last ever race I ever did, August 2019. And it's just they're like us. They love welcoming people to their races and so on. So yeah, definitely. But Marathon des Sables, go and do it. Anybody from you had Ted Jackson, who was there just recently with his son Raf.
Yeah, I was actually gonna bring that up. Ted and his 16-year-old son Rafa doing it. He's the youngest person ever to finish at 16. What do you think of that?
British person. There was a French girl, but he's the youngest British, just in case we've got any Marathon des Sables people. But yeah, for Ted to take Raf, I think that's brilliant. Now, he's done it with his other son before.
Which, he dressed up as a camel and it didn't go well for him, did it?
No, he got stuck into...
But his other son made it still.
Yeah.
Himself.
And Raf, to do this, this will encourage, people, Raf's age, not to do the Marathon des Sables, but it might just get some lad who doesn't know, hasn't got like any hobbies to turn around and go, do you know what? I'm going to just go for a run around the block. Or I might go and play badminton or do this. The incredible thing about running is you're the shop window for other people. So for Ted and Raf, brilliant. Ted got into some seriously hairy moments when he was out there, and he's got the right attitude as well. His flamboyance and just gung ho, lots of fun. Obviously, he's got all the knowledge of how to race and so on. But it's not like, if you're not going to win it, enjoy it.
I mean, it takes a special, especially male athlete, to beat the Moroccans.
The year I did it, 2017, we had Tom Evans.
Yeah, he came third.
And that was like every day. It was like, blimey. But I can see, if the likes of Dullwater or there's a few other, we haven't seen Paris. She hasn't gone out to the desert. So, the Moroccans, fair enough, but I think it's getting to be almost a level field for male and female now, which is brilliant.
Because of the females, you always get, non-Moroccans do quite well. I mean, look at Elizabeth Barnes, the current winner, who's from Spain, if I remember rightly, this year.
That's my daughter.
That's right. Hi, daughter.
Sorry, go on. Yeah,
it's always good. yeah, it's always a good mix with the females up front of nations, isn't? But the males always dominated by the Moroccans, isn't it? And it's
Yeah.
our closest has been Tom Evans, isn't it?
Well, exactly, and I think it's where they live and it's their environment. It's like I remember speaking with the some officials for the World Mountain Trail Running Series, and if the Ethiopians who are road runners had mountains and that kind of environment, they'd be all over us, for that kind of trail running. So it's environment suited, but they're gonna get beaten one day. They're gonna retire at one point, but they are so humble and such lovely people. I met Rashid after the race had finished. They were having like an evening do for us all in the desert, and he asked if he could have my sleeping bag, which I gave to him because our existence, we live like kings and queens can be compared to that. But yeah, it's an incredible thing, but it's great to see women running at the moment, how well it is coming on leaps and bounds. I think as well, the 2 years of COVID has given a sort of feral like mentality to a lot of people's training, when before they were waiting on like other people to train with, or going to see a coach, but then they've had this 2 years where sink or swim, fly or flight, fight, where they've become independent runners in their own. They said, I just went out for a run and I thought, I was going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then you see how they've developed when they might have just waited for prompts from other people, which is, so important. So once again, there's clouds and silver linings that they can really, leapfrog people up to realizing their ability, because there's so many runners out there with zero self-confidence when you think what they're doing is absolutely magnificent. I like to blow people's trumpets, because we don't do that enough. Anyway, I'm very high five American kind of mentality rather than just, was that okay? It's like, yeah, it was awesome, brilliant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So obviously you mentioned the night race in Portugal in 2019 being pretty much your last race that you took part in. So that sort of brings me on to one of the things I've been wanting to talk to you about, and what's sort of controlled your life to a certain degree over the last couple of years. So let's talk about your health, and how we've got to where we are now, right?
And how lucky we are. Lucky we are.
So first of all, what exactly are you recovering from?
I'm not recovering. It's chronic illness sort of thing. It's cancer, and it's inoperable. And it's also, I had a triple heart valve replacement. So if we go back to the tail end of 2019, after a year of not being myself and not being able to breathe very well at all the last month, it was as if I was shot through the window in the kitchen. I dropped down on the floor and I was thinking, hang on a minute, I think I'm going to die. Pins and needles all over my face gone purple. Phoned the ambulance. They came and got me. Gas and air. They said, gallstones. And then got into hospital, where I had a CT scan. They said, there's a small shadow on the small bowel, and you got lesions on your liver. I was like, okay, what does that mean? What's a small bowel? He goes, that's cancer. I said, all right, okay. So I was in for about 10 days. Your life stops literally, and then it starts again. And I was like, hang on a minute. So can you take this out? you know, you're going to give me a bag. What's going to happen? What about these lesions? Or we have to do biopsy on you first, Hugh. All right, okay. So they did a biopsy, and whenever the surgeon said, Hugh, this is going to feel a little bit like a wasp bite 3 times. I was like, I beg your pardon. He goes, yeah, I'm putting the little pipe needle thing in to take a biopsy. And like I'd watched the cartoon of the man like this smiling next to the window and it just going in and out. I was like, but can you give me some anesthetic? He goes, yeah, that's the bee sting. That's what the anesthetic feels like. And then we push the pipe down. So I was like, that, bloody hell. And then it came back, went to see the consultant. He goes, right, you've got neuroendocrine cancer. And this was in November 2019. I was like, right, what is neuroendocrine cancer? He goes, you've got primary is in your small bowel. Right, can you operate on it? No, it's inoperable. It's in your nose and in the rest of the body, and it's metastasized into your liver. Right, can you operate on that, please? So no, that's gone to all the 4 different parts of your liver. We can't operate on that. Right, okay. What can you do for me? Send you to Liverpool. To see, there's 7 centres of excellence for neuroendocrine cancer. So I was very lucky to go there. Now this is in January 2020. COVID hadn't happened yet. That was about to happen in March. In my head, it was like, well, I see March, what's happening? Got to Liverpool and they said, look, Hugh, it's inoperable. However, we can give you a injection every 21 days. It's not like chemotherapy or anything, but it can stop, slow, and reduce your symptoms. So I was like, okay, fair enough. We also need you to come back to go and see the oncologist to listen to your heart, because we think you've got like a leaky heart valve. Now, the hormones that get excreted from the tumours can wear out heart valves, and that's what had happened. So I went to the and I'd lost a lot of weight, I think, just through worrying. I was down to about 11 stone, had a big beard. I was lying on the bed, and the nurse is like listening to my heart. She goes, it'll be like ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. You got no need to worry. Okay. And then she put it on my heart, and it was like, and then she looked at me, looked at my wife, and she dropped it and ran out the door saying, I've got to check with the doctor to see if you're well enough to have your lanatride injection. And I was lying there like, you know, Che Guevara, that picture where they're all next to me. Hey, mate. And he's like lying there dead. I was like, what are we going to do? So they did a couple of weeks later, this is in February, they did like where they put a wire up your arm, and that goes and sits on your heart, and you're lying there off your head on morphine, looking at this TV screen, and they rest it on your heart to see what valve is depleting. So and I looked down at the surgeon who was doing this, because I was so off my face on morphine. I said, do you need a hand with anything? And he's looking at me with a mask going, excuse me? You're asking if I need a hand with anything? You're the patient, sir. All right, I think I might be a bit off my face. And then so I was like, they said, yeah, what we're going to do is we need to repair this heart valve of yours. So went to see the surgeon, big Scottish fella. That's somebody I take confidence in whenever we're going to break your rib, open it, grab your heart, have a look around. No nandy-pandy sort of thing. And at that stage, my fatigue, for the last few months I was just falling asleep all over the show. And I went in for the operation the week before COVID arrived, and the surgery to replace one heart vent was only supposed to take 4 hours. It took me, I think it was like 8 hours, because whenever he had everything open, he noticed that two of the heart valves had started to fail on me. So I've got two mechanicals and one pig. So when I woke up in intensive care, just feeling like a piece of tissue, I asked the nurse, has everything been success? And she goes, yeah, we've replaced all three. And I was like, what? Three?
It's like going into
And
a garage wanting like a spark plug change, and they've had to
yeah,
replace all of them.
the whole lot. And I was like, oh, there's a ticking noise going on. Can you stop that? He goes, no, that's you, Hugh. That's the sound of. I was like, oh, Crim's had all these wires and stuff. And everybody has said, Hugh, you know, especially with you as a fit ultra runner, blah, 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 you'll be bouncing back in no time. In a couple of weeks, you'll be back on your feet and you'll be walking around, no problem. I didn't get out of hospital for 21 days whenever I should have been out within about 3 or 4 days. I was in intensive care for 4. I was getting heart block. And then COVID arrived. So my family was coming in to see me, and then 0 visits. And you're thinking, oh my God, what you know, that's a huge distraction. Then
How did that obviously the moment obviously COVID hit? I mean, I don't like to speak much about COVID because it's we just want to get rid of it, but
yeah,
it did play a big part really for you, because you had family turning up and then suddenly boom, gone. No family, no visitors, just you alone with the hospital staff. How did that affect you mentally going through what you did?
Mentally, going back to on not having a hero physically in my life ever, that my thoughts, like I've had to be self-sufficient from an early stage in my life, where I've gone working abroad and all that kind of thing independently. So I've got the independence, and I was too scared of dying to be worried about anything else. I was, one of the biggest things I've ever had to achieve, forget the Sahara Desert, was to be able to be allowed out of the hospital. You had to walk up 6 steps and then back down again. And that's one of the toughest things I've ever had to do in my life, because even to get to the toilet, I'd be just exhausted and so on. So to do that, fine. And then came home, as you say, during COVID. I was in the spare room in one of these beds that go up and down for 5 months. And my fitness just wasn't coming back at all. I was just falling asleep exhausted. I'd go for a walk to the end of the lane, but it didn't take till about, I'd say, a good 12, 14 months before I could walk, a mile and not be exhausted and stuff. So yeah. And then the recovery from that, great. They last about 15 years. There's no recovery. It's like a chronic illness. It's inoperable. However, there's stuff that you have to control it. I'm getting some PRRT tomorrow in Liverpool, which is targeted therapy on the liver, just to help with the symptoms. Because I don't know, during this video, if people fast forward backwards and forwards, you may see my face colour going to red and so on. And that's one of the symptoms of the carcinoid. I take 6 injections every day to stop the flushing. So this hopefully will stop me having to do that, and to be able to go and sit outdoors in the sun. If I go out in the sun, I flush, become very uncomfortable. So yeah, but it's the NHS, COVID, they were flawed themselves. We didn't even, as a planet, we didn't know what to expect. So my professor, my nurse, all the team that was looking after me went to the front line, because it could have been so much worse. We just didn't know what to expect. And then I think once COVID sort of has, everything's opened up again in the last few months, it was like a 2-year celebration of my heart in March. I was just sat there thinking, what have I exactly done the last 2 years? I haven't done anything. You know, I've just existed. Okay, I've recovered, but what have I exactly done? So it's starting that future thinking process again, rather than being quite timid towards an illness sort of thing. But that's where, you know, friends and family have just been unbelievable. But
So,
you know, like anything with any big illness and so on, you get friends that you expect that might have been there to drop by the wayside. Anybody that's going through this or any kind of illness where some friends just disappear, don't worry about it. It's okay. It might be too hard for them to deal with. They might have other things going on. Do not worry about it. But that's something I didn't expect to happen. And I think what's quite odd as well, majority of my friends are runners. So everybody's in the fairground on the rides, and you're like sat there with everybody's coats, going, how long are you going to be? Sort of thing. So, you know, how I've sort of developed myself positively is to do other hobbies and say no to things that are going to put me in a situation where I feel left out, and to, as you say, do things that I enjoy that won't make me feel, oh, I can't go somewhere, I can't do that. It's like, right, I'll do this, I'll do that, sort of thing.
so you mentioned it took you a while to walk a mile.
Yeah.
What's your PB now in distance walking wise? What have you reached?
Walking, I've gone for time rather than
Yeah.
from minutes. I think it's such a unreliable illness. I won't do PBs or anything like that, because then if I don't achieve them again, it's like, oh look, you know, sort of thing. So I go for minutes and so on. It's one of these, you know, for me, I'm just happy to be alive. But then you start thinking, oh yeah, but I want to go running again. I want to do this, but because I flush and then get discomfort, or it makes me feel uneasy or exhausted, I can't do that. However, what I can do is encourage other people and do races and get involved that kind of way and give you purpose. I think it must be so tough for, you know, if I was just a man with chronic illness that didn't have, you know, organising his various community races or family or something like that, you know, you can see why so many people do suffer from depression and so on, because, you know, touch wood, I'm immensely blessed. I don't have, or haven't, even whenever it's been rock bottom, had a moment of depression, because I always remember my mum saying there's always people worse off than you. Anxiety, now that's something new. That's another lovely little hormone that's given to me in bags by the tumours, is serotonin. So I can, you know, just go very anxious if there's a little bit too much information happening whilst I'm having a flush, sort of thing. But I think, you know, everybody who's going through, you know, just life in general, you're all doing all right, you know. Everybody's doing great. And you know, I'm, you know, quite surprised I'm still here anyway after
We're not.
after the life I've lived, you know, the various capers I've got up to, you know. But yeah, I'm very lucky to have done everything I wanted, because I remember in 2019 thinking, like, you know what I mean? I'm going to concentrate more on the shorter races for myself, and just, you know, do more with other things, say like develop the comedy side of things, my you know, and just enjoy other aspects. So I was at a stepping off point anyway. But you know, you can see young bucks or people who just have running in their lives, and they do have a chronic illness come about, how difficult it is for them to just, you know, all right, what's my purpose now? Because that's the main thing. Everybody needs a purpose, no matter how small it is. We all have to have a purpose, and if you haven't got a purpose, just remember you mean something to somebody. That's purpose enough.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of elite athletes of various things, when they retire from their sport, have, because they've got nothing else, they suddenly hit mental illness and stuff because they've got nothing more. Like Dame Kelly Holmes, as an example, suffers from mental illness, and that stems from when she retired from elite competition.
Yeah.
If they've got nothing to follow up with, it's that thing. What is my purpose now?
I think a lot of people as well. I've always believed that this is a potential red flag for runners who don't prepare something nice to do after they've done a race. So, as Killen Jordan had in his Live or Die book, races are like life. You have the birth, the start of the race, you have what happens in the race, and then you have the death of the race. So there is a little bit of grief associated, especially if you're doing ultra marathons daily, whatever. You've put in 6 months of training, whatever, and you're having to say goodbye to that. That won't happen ever again. That moment, that day, that whatever, that won't happen again. So organise something special and another race or something for after that. So many people, I think, do fall into the, they don't have a calendar of races of what they're going to do. So they are in the doldrums after a race where they do feel a bit blue, DOMS or whatever. But that's because you've organised, you've had a project, you stop. And unless you've got something else to look back on, or even look back on that race and celebrate it, then mentally you're potentially setting yourself up to fall in about 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, whatever years, whenever the last race happens. So it's always having that, don't be a one-trick pony, always have that. I remember a friend saying to me, he goes, Hugh, when I was working in a job, was happy with, I got speaking with him. And he goes, Hugh, just go back to that wonderment you had as a child and stuff you used to enjoy. And so it's like, if you think back, well, yeah, hang on a minute, why don't, and that's how I got back into running. And I was thinking, well, why did I stop drawing when I was 7? Or why did I stop making my own CDs and stuff, whatever? Or what did I do as a kid? And then you think back to that with the wonderment of a child, which we all are. And it's like, oh, hang on, well, that's what I'll do. I'll have other things that I can enjoy myself with. Not so much for people with families, but single people who race and whatever. Just, make sure that you're giving yourself little treats afterwards. Obviously not trainers, because that's not a memory unless you have a shrine like I do. But yeah, I definitely say is treat yourself to other stuff that isn't running, just to give you a little bit of balance. That's what I always, because as well as running, I used to go sailing as well. So I, 2 sports that I really enjoyed, completely different sort of thing.
Cool. So moving on, you have mentioned you're a race director and you organise a series of events up where you are. Let's talk about them for a quick bit. So tell everyone, what are your events and what they're about?
Yeah, 2016 was the first one, which was the 75 miler down the Llŷn Peninsula. Everybody who's watching this, pause it, Google Llŷn Peninsula, and have a look at the pretty pictures there. That's where we are. It's like the Land's End of Wales on the Llŷn Peninsula. Beautiful part of the world. And my friend Gordon Hughes, another incredibly kind runner, he did the Ring of Fire in 2014 on Anglesey, which is a 3-day multi-day event. Well worth doing. Go and do that, guys. And I was like, do you know what? I've sort of thought about putting an ultra on the Llŷn Peninsula, because I've sailed around it and seen how beautiful the headland is that people might not normally see on their normal little run, as well as run, and that was it. So set a date, work my way backwards. So that's the Summit Ultras now has grown and grown. It's got 100 miler, 75 miler, and a 50 miler. So for walks and talkers, fundraisers, people that just want to go and do something big. There's the 50 miler, you know what I mean? So you've got 24 hours, aid stations, marshals, for 75 bit tougher, 100 tougher still. But we've now got like an ultra village, which was always a dream. So like how all the tents are in a circle, people bring their tents or camper vans, and we've got like 2 big marquees with bars. We do like a cheesy pasta party the night before, and there's a really good vibe. So that's the summer one. We've also got the winter one. People love it, and I was like, I'm not quite. I was a good weather runner. Me to go running in a blizzard. Sometimes if the tide's in, you have to swim a bit of the course, just a bit. But it's a 35 miler and it's there and back in a day. So we got that in the winter, and then we got new for this year. We got the Pilgrims 60. There's for everybody that does the XRG Pilgrims down south. I always thought, well, I'm sure there must have been Pilgrims in North Wales. So I've attempted it myself from Holywell a few times. Got as far as Nevin, but that starts in Bangor Cathedral. Wow, whenever you think, oh, I'm just gonna ask the cathedrals, okay, if we can start a race there. They're like, yeah, of course you can. I was like, what? So that's where we have our race start, and then they follow the Pilgrims route all the way down to Aberdaron. That's in May, the 14th. For a weekend, we've got the marathon, the half, and the trail. That's the DPJ Foundation fundraiser. That's for the DPJ's mental health association for farmers and farming families. And they're so good because they speak the same kind of terminology. Whenever people phone up, they can relate to people. So it's a great charity. So we got that. So May, and then June, Backyard Ultra on the side of Rhew Mountain as part of the Four Nations, and yeah, July, and then that's it in the winter, and then see how we go for maybe some new ones coming out next year. But everything went on hold. I've been because of COVID, which in a sense was hit at the right time because I was physically unable to do anything. I was very lucky this year. Whenever I was in April, I was very, very fatigued. I was having difficulties with my recovery with my heart and my B12 levels, and I was able to give the ownership of the organisation to my friends who have been on the event team since the start, and that took a lot of worry and pressure off me, and it was just a fantastic day. So yeah, even if you're not going to race in one of the races on the Llyn Peninsula, come down and have a little run around the actual coastline. There's some beautiful trails, and possibly one of the prettiest parts of the world.
Excellent. So we're going to head into our 10 quick fire questions now, Hugh. All right.
Yeah.
So let's start with, what was your favourite snack whilst on a long run or race?
Gee whiz. Favourite snack? I want to say peanut butter and jam sandwich.
Nice.
So I'm going to say that. That's what I'm going to say.
I had that on my long run on Sunday, actually.
Yeah.
Favourite bit of kit that you always like to take with you on a race or long run?
Favourite bit of kit that I'd always take. A Diorolite. It seems weird, but Diorolite, because it's so much cheaper than energy gels and all that kind of thing. And I learned, you learn from the people who've been running for years. It's like, just get some Diorolite, mate, and put that into one of your bottles of water, rather than because that's what you have whenever you've had the shits or whatever. So Diorolite, that's a cheap tip from Hubert.
There you go. There's a runner's hack for you right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so the favourite race that you've ever raced in?
I'd say there's a lot. I'd say Ras Pendraw Byd which is a race from the school in Aberdaron, and I think it's 6.5 miles, and it goes all over the coastland, and it is proper fell race. You know, you start and finish in a school, no commercialism, big burger afterwards, and you can buy some cakes, and that's what the whole running to me is all about. It's that kind of freedom and fun.
Nice. Marmite, yes or no?
Never, just absolutely, just wrong.
If if a film was made about your life, who would star as you?
Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah, our lives have been so very similar, so I'd like her to play me.
Fair enough. Um, obviously, races aside, where's your favourite place that you've ever run?
Favorite place I've ever run? I'd say Portugal. Absolutely incredible path. There's just some great trails there. Yeah, so Portugal.
Cool. Favourite drink?
Back in the day, before these pesky, why can't you have tumours on your hair? Or I don't know. Was red wine. A nice thick red of some sort. Yeah.
Okay. What song would describe you?
Run, Boy, Run. I don't know who does it, but it's a fantastic video. Just got this young lad running and all these monsters coming towards him and stuff. It's very 1920s deco. Fantastic.
Run, boy, run. Let's quickly Google that. So, run, boy, run. Run, boy. I can't even spell boy now. Run. By Woodkid.
That's the one. Absolutely fantastic track.
Excellent. Tom Jones, legend or no?
Legend, but not as big as legend as Max Boyce.
Fair play, fair play. And final question. Obviously, I know you retired from running. If you were able to run again, was there a bucket list race that you wanted to do? I know you've done Marathon Dressage, but is there one now you've taken?
Yeah, there was quite a few, but I'm one for those. If you can't do it, don't even think about it. Move on. I'm a big believer in don't dwell on what you can't do. I know that's a bit kind of egotistic. If I can't do it, I don't want to talk about it. But I believe in that. If you can't do it, move on. So whatever was has gone by the wayside, ready to make room for all the new creativity and madness that's happening.
Brilliant. So as we come to the end of the podcast now, is there any advice you give a beginner runner?
Just go for a walk. Get off Facebook. Stop asking for advice on Facebook. Just go for a walk. Teach yourself as much as you can. If there is a running club, join that. You might think, I don't know how to run and stuff. They'll help you with Couch to 5K. A lot of people, new runners, have difficulty with breathing with your nose and your mouth and stuff. They'll be able to tell you that they'll be in the same situation as well. But beginners, Couch to 5K, get on that. Have a purpose. What I'd certainly say is enter a race now. So think, right, I'm going to be a runner. Enter a race now for about 6 months' time. And at the end of the day, you can always not turn up if you don't want to do it. But it'll give you something to commit you to doing something. You can walk the entire race. It can be a 5K, half, whatever, or even a miler. Or it could even be, which is especially good for newbies, is virtual races where, you can do that race. You can walk a 5-miler. You get a medal from it. But commit yourself to a race now. Just think, right, I'm going to do a race in 6 months, 3 months from now. It's going to be virtual. I'm going to enter. There we are. Commit to it.
Excellent. And Hugh, if people want to come find you, follow you, and search for your events, where can they find you or your events?
Pentland Ultras is on Facebook. Just check that out. Me, I'm on Instagram, the Hugh Williams. I thought to make it easier to find me amongst all the other Hugh Williamses in the world, if I put the in front of it, it would work. So yeah, I'm on Instagram, the Hugh Williams. But yeah, and that's it, I think. Anybody that's looking to enter our races, as ever, if you've got a charity attached to what you're doing, we'll promote that on our Facebook page as well for you and share your stories and so on. So anybody that's fundraising, we always do our best to support and help that. And at the start and finish of the race, for any charity runners, we'll put out a bucket or so on like that. That's no problem.
Brilliant. I'll put the links in the description below as well to help people find you. We'll have a chat afterwards after we stop recording. But for the podcast, Hugh, thank you for giving up some of your precious time. I know it's been difficult over the last 2 years with your health and everything else to give people time like this. So I'm much appreciated. It's been fun chatting and catching up with you.
Enjoyed it.
It's been absolutely a privilege on my behalf to have you on. Thank you very much, Hugh, for coming.
Oh, it means a lot. Thanks very much, buddy.
Right. What a great chat that was. I really enjoyed catching up with Hugh. And yeah, that heart condition. I mean, it's mad how things like that can suddenly take over your life. But I'm so pleased. He's still fighting the good fight and he's still moving on. But I really, really enjoyed speaking to Hugh, and I hope you enjoyed listening to it too. Please go give him a follow, go check out his events, stuff like that. And, while you're at it, give us a review on the various podcast apps, Apple Music, all that sort of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that sort of stuff. Give us a review, give us a rating, all that sort of stuff. And subscribe to my YouTube channel while you're at it. Obviously I'm no big wig in the world of podcasts, but it's quite nice. I get all the great support that I've had over the last, it's been over a year now since I've started this thing. So yeah, please share, like, review, all that sort of stuff. That'd be great. But until next time, this is If My Feet Could Talk podcast. I'm your host, Owen, and I'll catch you whenever I record the next one. Ta-ra for now.